got, what can we do with what we have? And I don't mean this in a poverty-struck way, but I mean I think we do have capacity in places. I do think we do have some very modern infrastructures in some big departments that can be leveraged, and I think that's probably more likely to be the direction of travel.
Okay, and I have one question from Andy Hopkirk. When will the first services be available, and do you believe the answer?
Well, Andy, I could trust you to come up with a question like that. There are already some prototype services being made available, and you know, I guess, you know, the first swallow does not make a summer, and I think there's a lot of work to be done before really important changes take place, before big systems are shared between big departments. And so there's a lot of work to be done under the bridge. And I said earlier on, one of the big challenges in government is that often it's the law that requires a government officer to behave in a certain way, and changing the law is a prerequisite for anything else. I heard something I didn't quite understand the other day from a district council, I think it was Windsor, saying they could not adopt open source because they weren't allowed to by law. I'm not sure I completely understand that, but if that is indeed the case, then there's an awful lot of law that needs unpicking before some of these things can take place. I do know that the information assurance rules say that if you combine departments and share lots of data, both departments' data in the same place, you raise the level of risk substantially, and a whole new set of provisions have to take place. So we're not talking about tinkering around the edges, but inevitable changes that will take time to bed in. So, you know, this is not going to be done in the next 6 months, I'm sure of that, but there are already some prototype services.
Okay. Any other questions? We'll take one last question. Yes, Andy, I'm unmuting you. You can ask your question. I see that you're typing a question.
I'm not sure if you can hear me because I'm not sure if I have a microphone or not.
We can hear you.
I can, Andy.
Yeah.
Hi there, Ian. Just a follow-up question. What prototypes are up there already then?
We're looking at simpler automated procurement systems and scaling them out. There are a couple of examples of those things already being used. So it's not the same as the dynamic provision I talked about in Application Store, but it does give the civil servant the ability to order stuff, you know, automatically align the procurement system, automatically take that, you know, basically automate that whole process rather than being a manual process, which a lot of it is today. So that's one that I'm personally aware of. There are one or two others I've heard about recently, but I don't know much more about them, and I couldn't really represent them fairly. So proofs of concept is probably one way of thinking about it, but I have to say that's what we typically do in our industry anyway. Prove something works first before we scale it out.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So one last question from me. Are we alone in this? Is it a unique project within the EU, or is any other government doing something similar?
Well, I was with a pal yesterday who told me that they've just been, I did this today actually, just been contacted by the Austrian government, and they've decided they want an Austrian cloud. Mm-hmm. The Australians actually are probably stealing a march on us all right now. For some reason down under, they've got their act together, move more quickly, really start to make this sort of infrastructure work. But of course, the big banner example of people doing work in this area, the US. I think the US have the same challenges we have in that large established departments, very large budgets, changing the way that money is spent, changing the way the service is delivered and scaled out is a very big challenge for them too. But they started this project at the beginning of last year, and so they're well into it. They've already got an application store available. You can go and look at it online, actually. I think, if I remember correctly, it's appstore.gov, I think will get you to it. And you can see the sorts of things that they're talking about. I have to say they're looking more at the infrastructure level than almost anything else, but we were looking much more in the UK about the services level, and you know, what you'd really like to be able to do in your job, as opposed to what a computer and IT specialist might want to be seen to be done. So there are plenty of initiatives running around the world. I would commend the Australian one. I would certainly have you look at the federal government in the US and see what they've been doing too.
Okay. Thank you, Ian. I think we have the time is up, and thank you very much, Ian, for an interesting insight into the G Cloud project. I think we have learned quite a bit about the G Cloud today, and we are quite excited about the exciting things this project is going to bring to citizens and businesses. And thank you very much for all participants for taking time out to participate in this webinar and interacting with us. We welcome your feedback, not only on this webinar, but other things that we do. And we have recorded this webinar, and we will soon publish it on our website. I welcome you to participate on our future webinars also. The next webinar will be on practical problems faced by enterprises in adopting the cloud. This will be delivered by Philippe Hubert, co-founder of Symmetric, who is also helping Swiss Post to move into the cloud. Thank you once again. Have a good day. Bye-bye.